All right, let's call the meeting to order at 5:31. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Kristen Runge,
Here.
Joe Zitzelberger,
Here.
Trisha Braun, Brian Wallace,
Here.
Chris Zellner,
Here.
Sue Springman,
Here.
Mike Steinle.
Here.
All right, second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Do we have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up is public comment. And do we have anyone who is interested in making a public comment? Either in person? Do we have anyone online? If you are online and you would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand and we will call you in. All right, seeing no hands online and no cards or anyone interested, we will move past public comment and go to business item 1. Number 1 today is discuss and take action on the site plan for the installation of an exterior chiller at Octopi Brewing, 1131 Unique Drive, and this is an item for final action by Plan Commission. So, and Lauren, do you want to present and Octopi present too as
Yep.
well? Okay.
So I'll just introduce it and hand it off to them. So they're applying for a site plan that includes a temporary gravel pad, which will hold, stuff is moving, which will hold a temporary chiller or a space for a temporary chiller pad. So they're going to take the existing chiller, move it to this temporary pad, and then expand the existing concrete pad to fit a new larger chiller. And then as part of the new chiller, there will be a cooling tower over here. So the chiller is down here. The cooling tower is right above it. The cooling tower elevation is 34 feet. Business park maximum is 45 feet. So we're under that. We don't have any issues with the elevation. And they have keeps doing that. They have taken care of all of the staff comments that have come up through the tech staff process. So staff doesn't have any issues with the site plan as presented, and we recommend approval.
All right. Thank you.
I am Zach Samus, facilities engineer at Octopi Brewing. Hi, I'm Zach Samus, facilities engineer at Octopi Brewing. Do you have any questions or concerns around this? Otherwise, I can run through it with you guys.
Do you mind running through it?
Not at
Thank
all. So this project is in 3 parts. All of them are connected to each other. The first part being the temporary gravel pad for the chiller swap. So what we're going to be doing is installing a gravel pad to the north there where the red box is and moving our existing chiller there to make space for the new chiller. The reason we're doing this is that to keep operations going smoothly, we want to maintain our cooling capacity. And so we want to keep that on site until the new chiller is installed and commissioned. This was previously approved in June at a different location just south of it. But when we planned to start construction for that, we found a gas line and we did not want to put this over a gas line. And so here we are to present it again in a new spot. With that being said, the next part of this is a new concrete pad for the new chiller. The existing concrete pad for the current chiller is not large enough and it's not sloped properly for the new chiller. So we need to demo it out and put a new concrete slab in. It is a little larger and it will cut on some of the permeable ground there, but there really isn't much there. There should be a note in the site plan drawing that was submitted by Wiser Engineering. And then on top of that, the third part of this project is the new chiller. It comes in 2 parts. There is the chiller skid, which is going to go on top of the new concrete pad. There will be then a metal platform that will be holding the new cooling tower. Once all that is installed, we will commission it. Once commissioned, we will remove the existing chiller that's on the temporary gravel pad. We'll remove the pad and restore the ground to existing conditions. A part of this that was brought up was noise level concerns. Unfortunately, there is no way to know if this new equipment will be breaking ordinances. So post-commission, Octopi is going to be doing a sound study, the same that we did for our current setup with our insurance company, I believe. And if we are breaking any noise ordinances, we will go and go in and make sure that those are rectified within 3 months of installation.
Right. Thank you very much. All right, so let's open up the floor to questions. Mike, should we start with you? Did you have any questions or comments?
Sure, just one.
Mhm.
Might be obvious, but you did verify then that the new temporary site doesn't have anything under it like gas line.
Correct. We triple checked.
Oh,
Sue?
How do you rectify noise once you build it? It seems like it might be pretty expensive to.
So what you can do is you can build sound panels in. That metal platform likely has the capability of holding additional weight. That could be the form of just additional sound blockers and physical barriers. The current sound study that we have showed that the current fence line there blocks a massive amount of the amount of noise that is within that area. I believe it was, I have the sound study as a document in here. Apologies.
That's okay, but I just was curious if you actually can do it.
Yes, we can. Absolutely.
Thanks, Sue. Joe?
Under the staff recommendation, it lists reducing the sound to the limits identified in village ordinance within 3 weeks. I just want to confirm whether it's 3 weeks or 3 months.
That's up for discussion. 3 weeks was an example of a
Okay.
timeline that we could use, but it's up to the discussion of the plan commission.
Okay.
All right.
Other than that, I appreciate all of the noise information in here. Very thorough.
Yep. And I would say that we could do 3 weeks once we do the sound study. That's just a really tight turnaround on materials. So
Yeah.
3 months from my perspective would be more comfortable, but we are open to whatever you guys would like us to do.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, Chris?
No comments, as I'll be abstaining.
All right, all right. So the only question I had is you refer to the original condition of the ground where the gravel pad is.
Mhm.
What is the original condition of the ground?
It
right
is
now?
currently part of our beer garden. There is a couple of bushes and some mulched area and garden bed that would likely be disturbed and or outright removed. We would put all of that back in place, new bushes. It would look identical to how it looks now.
All right. All right, so then the only other thing that we have to discuss plan commission is the 3 weeks versus 3 months. Does anybody have any opinion or feedback on that? Does 3 months, 3 weeks?
Really depends on how soon you can get the materials. And
That's hard to know right now. With supply chains, it could be different in, when we're ready to do that than if we were to quote that today. So it's hard to know, which is why I would go towards the 3 months portion of it, but
Yeah,
yep, that must have been a typo on my side. Sorry.
all right. All right. Any other comments on that, Joe?
Yeah. What is the overall timeline here from the point that you move
There,
on to you're good to go?
apologies. There is a schedule in the letter that we submitted. I don't know if you wanted to find that, Lauren. So that is the estimated schedule from approval. Weeks 1 and 2 is we're gonna make the necessary piping and electrical preparations to move the current chiller. Weeks 2 and 4, we're gonna demo the old concrete pad and install the new concrete pad. Apologies, weeks 1 and 2 will also move the chiller. Weeks 5 through 8, new equipment will be installed and commissioned. And then on the next page, weeks 9 and 10, current equipment will be removed, gravel pad will be restored. Depending on ground conditions, because this could be in January, December-ish. If there's 2 feet of snow on the ground, this will be probably delayed until the spring. So some flexibility would be very nice on this side of this. But then once we can, as soon as possible, we will restore the area to current conditions and it'll be like it never happened.
So at what point in that timeline do you check noise levels again?
So after we installed all the current equipment, we're gonna commission it. So that's gonna be the weeks. The first,
Somewhere around week 8, I would assume, give or
exactly.
take.
That's what we'll do the sound study once it's up and running at its operating load. Then we'll do the sound study.
My only concern with 3 months is if we're over those limits, there's residents that are
Mhm.
not all that far away. And 3 months is an awful long time to live with the noise, depending on what it is and that sort of thing.
So if you, I agree that would be, if I was a resident, I would be probably annoyed with that. If you look at the sound study, there is a map of the layout and the three surveyed locations. Number 3 on that map, I don't know if you wanted to,
Yeah, those numbers were fairly low, so.
yes, so I will wait until it's up. So site 3, we recorded a sound level that maxed out at 59.5 decibels. The maximum sound level recorded was, which was in the which is at site 1, which is between all of the equipment, is 93.5 decibels. And really the only things that is blocking sound from that angle are the actual silos and other equipment and fencing there. So I feel pretty confident that with this new equipment, we currently have enough sound blocking capability going south. There's nothing going east, which is what we're going to measure and base our solution from. So we're going to measure at site 2, and what site 2 produces is what we're going to aim for, because that is the closest point to the new equipment from the property line.
Sure. Yeah,
So there is a risk,
yeah,
but also we may not be able to make the materials come in faster. So
What's the run hours? Is it
Uh,
24 hours or?
24/7.
Okay.
If you got approval, when would you theoretically be starting the project?
As soon as possible, this week if we can.
So it's fair to say if you were doing this, this would be over the winter, it'd be done.
Yeah.
I think that actually helps that, you know, for the 3 months, if you think it started in November,
mhm,
you're talking November, December, January, where people are gonna tend to have their windows closed.
yeah,
So I think the noise would be less of an issue now than if you're gonna do it in
Mhm.
the spring.
yep,
Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say.
yeah.
And if we get some nice blizzards, that'll help too.
Yeah, given that timeline, the 3 months is, I think, way more palatable.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so the new chiller, you don't have a spec on what that's gonna run at though? Cause the existing one, the new one right at next to it was 93, but once you got off the street, it was well below, or it was below the ordinance.
So unfortunately, we do not have a spec for it. The manufacturer doesn't give a spec because each setup at each different site is slightly different. So they can't really put a spec on it and guarantee it. From what the manufacturer of this Cloisier has indicated is that whenever they install this chiller and cooling tower, that's when they'll do the sound studies, just because it's hard to guarantee a spec if the environment that you're installing it in is different. And for example, across the street at the ice rink, we have a similar chiller, not similar chiller, another chiller that also produces quite a bit of noise. And so it's hard to take into account all of your environmental factors to guarantee.
And have you had any preliminary conversation with the manufacturer on what they do to soften the noise?
They usually don't install it so close to residential areas. They're usually in deep industrial parks with this stuff. So they usually don't try to aim for sound specs. That being said, we did purchase the cooling tower with the ultra low noise fan. So we've taken all steps that the manufacturer allows us to take.
Okay. And then as from the village perspective, we have 75 decibels in here, which, you know, all but the one standing right next to it was below that. So are we just holding to that?
Yeah.
I would potentially say if measurements at 3 are approaching that 75, and I don't think they will, I think that would be pretty wild.
Yeah.
The 3 months is gonna be a very painful 3 months for those residents, but
Hi, everyone. I am managing the integration project for Octopi. Just one thing to add, the ultra low sound, ultra low noise feature that we bought for the condenser. The condenser is basically a big fan. And that's what produces most of the noise, which is what we hear on the ice rink across the street. That's measured at 95 decibels at the source when it's at full load. And even though we're gonna be operating at 24/7, we will never run at full load of the equipment, because then that means that we're actually not designing to have that spare capacity. So that's another thing to consider, is that this fan is equipped with a variable frequency drive, so it adjusts the speed of the fan depending on the load that we need on the factory. So I suspect that at point number 3, which is the closest to the residents, and taking into account that full load, we're at 95 decibels, I think that we feel pretty confident that we're never going to exceed that. And the other part about the chiller construction, Zach was correct in saying that they don't have the decibel measure, because is a custom manufactured skid, but it's fully enclosed, and that enclosure already has quite a bit of insulation to reduce the amount of noise from compressors, which is what is the source of the noise of the current chiller, and the current chiller doesn't have that insulation. So again, I think that we're pretty confident. I think that we're gonna be way below that. And the 3 months, like I said, like Zach was saying, is more depending on if we do have an issue, is more how long it will take us to source some sort of paneling or something on the outside, which is nothing fancy. It's just how long it would take us to get it installed.
All right, thank you very much for that. Other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Do we have a motion?
Sure. I'll motion to approve the site plan conditioned upon sound study after the construction of the cooling tower and the design and construction of a screening system to reduce sound levels set by village ordinance if necessary.
I'll second.
Within 3 months.
Within 3 months. All right,
Make sure that's in there.
I'll second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for presenting and all of the information.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, discuss and take action on a request by First Presbyterian Church to divide by 2 certified survey maps, 2.6 acres to be included in the Kilkenny Farms West Plat, with the remaining 7.8 acres to remain in the town and be rezoned from A1 to G1. And this is an item for recommendation to the Joint Plan Commission and Village Board. So Lauren, to you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, First Presbyterian Church at 5763 County Highway Q in the joint planning area is requesting the 2 CSMs. Village ordinance requires that any land divisions in the joint planning area or extraterritorial zoning area has to go through a rezoning. One of the lots that's being created would be rezoned to PUD when it's annexed into the Kilkenny West plat. The rest of it would still need to be rezoned to a village zoning district. G1 institutional makes the most sense. It meets all the setbacks. It's a little bit more flexible than some of the other ones that it could be put in. The request is split into 2 different CSMs. Pretty much just for recording purposes, so that there's 1 CSM for the town and what's going to remain in the town, and 1 CSM for what's coming into the village. So that way we don't have a CSM that's crossing municipal boundaries. So there's 1 lot, about 2.6 acres, that would be brought into Kilkenny West, and another one about 7.8 acres that would be remaining in the town.
All right. Thank you. All right, and Mike, did you want to present on this or? Okay, all right. All right, all right. What questions do we have? Chris, let's start with you.
The only question I have is are we gonna run any issues with town of Westport at this point from
No, they totally cooperated on getting this on the agenda.
I understand. I'm talking about the we can't do anything with annexation.
According to the village attorney, because this started before the annexation petition, that this shouldn't cause any issues.
Okay. That's it for me.
Cool. Brian?
No questions.
No. Joe?
That was my biggest question, was the potential contention there.
Yeah, and ditto too. So thank you for answering that. Sue? Mike? All right. All right. Then I will make the motion to recommend approval of the certified survey map at 5763 County Highway Q, rezoning of Lot 1 from legacy non-conforming A1 agricultural to village PUD upon annexation, and rezoning of Lot 2 from legacy non-conforming A1 agricultural to village G1 institutional. All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda, discuss and take action on a request by Kilkenny Farms West for an amendment to the final plat, GDP, SIP, and annexation of lands to be obtained from First Presbyterian Church. And this is an item for recommendation to the Joint Plan Commission and Village Board.
So this is where lot 1, the first lot 1 of the CSMs comes into play, and where it would be annexed into the Kilkenny West. Sorry, things are moving around my screen. It'd be annexed into the Kilkenny West PUD. The lands would be used to create 2 new lots at the end of Mall Drive to the west, and I'll bring this up, Jared. So it'd create these 2 new lots, 285 and 286 to the west. It would extend lots 287, 288, 289, and 290 to the north and create this remote lot 291. The concern that staff had mainly with this remote lot is that it doesn't have any street frontage as required by village code. But village board is able to make an exception to that if they so choose. Our biggest concern had to deal with really was public safety access. And Bill Frederick checked with the fire department and the police department, and both said that as long as they maintain this easement for access here, that they wouldn't have a problem with it.
All right. And Mike, did you want to present on this or talk about this?
You should just explain it. The gentleman from the church.
Oh, please, we'll have you go up to the podium if you don't mind, so people online.
Church are here also, in case you want to hear from them. I think they're totally in support of this because they're selling to us, so. That crosshatch area that Lauren was pointing to that gets out to Q, that's also gonna be the driveway area that the church now uses, so you can see that L-shaped. So yeah, that's where the church goes, and then this lot will go out at the same spot, so. I know there was a question somewhere along the line, we had an answer on that, so we just want to explain the access on that. And then in the GDP, lots 287 through 290, and I believe the church is okay with this. Don wants the option to either go with the, I guess he calls them the luxury liner, you know, the 2-unit high-end condo developments on those lots, or just regular single family. He hasn't decided yet which way he's gonna go, but the way the GDP is written, he can go either way. And I don't know, you probably have seen the famous luxury liners and some other plants that he's done, so they're very nice, so you don't have to worry about the quality of it. So that's the nature of it. So if you have any questions, Joe or I can answer them, or the gentleman from the church, I'm sure, can answer any questions that you have.
All right. So let's start with you, Joe. Joe, do you have any questions?
I don't think so, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Brian.
I'm just trying to understand street access for 287 through 290.
Oh, they're gonna come down, yeah. Boy, I wish I had a laser thing, but yeah, they're gonna come down from those private driveway outlets from the north.
Other questions, Brian? No, okay. Chris?
Mike, do we know what we're gonna do on lot 291?
On 291, it'll be a single family residence. That's all it can be.
And where are they gonna access it?
They're gonna access it on that cross-hatched area out to Q. And they're gonna overlap the driveway with the church at the end when you enter Q.
So there's an existing driveway here that lot 171 accesses from, and they're going to create a perpetual easement for access for that lot.
Yeah, hopefully that's in the packet, but yeah, I wrote up, Brian will check it over, but that's the kind of the typical.
Isn't one seventy-one the existing home there?
What's that?
Isn't 171 the existing home?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
there's yeah, on that lot that's in the original plat that we did a couple months ago, that's the Stott's house. Don's gonna preserve that. I think he's gonna fix it up. Joe, am I correct on that? He's gonna, dress it up even beyond what it is now. So that's being preserved.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mike?
Kind of following on Brian's question, just so I understand this, so it's gonna be a driveway coming in there, so they're like 289 and
Hey, Mike.
290, for example, have one
Oh,
driveway.
Mike, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Sorry. So like just using as an example, 289 and 290, that's a driveway, they'll come and it's like a shared driveway into those lots?
That'll be a shared driveway with the lots on the plat that's already platted. And they're all coming down that same private drive.
Got it, okay.
And there'll be covenants that spell out, they're all gonna share in that. We've done that in a lot of other plats around here. We'll do that again here. So they're gonna share in the expenses. It's not gonna be a village maintained private driveway.
Oh, so that'll be a private driveway
Yeah.
that you're right
Yeah,
there already?
those are private, I understand, right? Those are all outlets.
Okay,
They're not dedicated streets.
okay, thank
Nope.
you.
And they've already been approved for 287, 288, 289, and 290. The only difference is that we're extending the depth of those lots. So basically where this hashed line is where those lots originally ended. And then below that is where that new land is coming in.
Is it fair to say that potentially each of those lots would hold like as you referred to, the luxury line or condominium,
Yep.
the duplex condominium?
287 through 290 could hold.
So you
each.
potentially have 8 units.
You could, or you could have 4. Yeah, it just depends, 4 to 8.
All right. Sue, did you have any questions? No. All right. I don't have any questions either, just so that we're clear though, 287 through 290 were in the original plan. And what we're doing is just making them bigger,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, those little numbers that are in the northern parts of those are the original lot numbers that were in the original plat. And these lot numbers, 287 through 290, are substituting for those because we've expanded the
Okay.
number of square feet.
And so the only one we're really adding is 291.
And 286 and
Well, yeah,
288.
you're
Or
adding those
286.
two lots there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and 285 and 286, are they earmarked as single family? or-
Yes.
Regular single family,
Okay.
right.
Mike, who determines for the private drives when they need to be fixed, replaced?
There is a committee of the 4 lot owners on each private drive that figure, start snow plowing and repaving and all that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the resurface, repave, all
Yeah.
those, just to,
We've written up the language in plats. I don't know, Tracy, how many plats have we had some private outlets in?
At least 2 or 3 others.
Yeah, we've had other ones and I think they've worked okay and there haven't been any problems, squabbles or
perfect,
failure to maintain it or whatever.
perfect. Thank you.
And then a question on Mall Drive, now that Mall Drive, is that going to extend to the church itself there?
Right. Yeah, I think the church and gentlemen here can talk and I don't think they want you guys don't want a through connection
No?
on
Okay.
there. It's created for the future if something, they want to have that, but I don't believe they want to have that.
Right now, no. Okay,
Your future.
okay, all right. All right, any other questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, I will make the motion to recommend approval of the amendment to the final plat to Kilkenny Farms West, GDP, SIP, and annexation of the new Lot 1 from First Presbyterian Church, pending written approval of Lot 291 on the motion. That was seeing none. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mike. Next up on the agenda is discuss and take action on a request for approval of specific implementation plan for multifamily development on Woodland Crest Outlot 2, and this is an item for recommendation to the Joint Plan Commission.
Yep, so this is something that you've all seen multiple times before at this point. Most recently, we approved the GDP at the April 8th meeting, which was subsequently approved by Village Board. The 3-story multifamily building will have 75 residential units with a mix of studios, one bedroom plus den, and 2-bedroom units. And then the 5 stacked flat buildings will have 10 units each. So it comes out to a grand total of 125 new units of rental in Waunakee. The developer has addressed all tech staff comments to the satisfaction of the respective staff and consultants. So we are recommending approval as presented.
All right, let's start with questions. Sue, do you have any questions?
How much parking is there?
Oh, I'll have to look that up. Yeah, if you want to give up, this is Connor. He is one of the
Hello.
developers with FDG.
Oh, and sorry for not calling on you, Connor. So
Oh,
earlier.
sorry.
Feel free to
Apologize.
present before you answer our questions. Yeah.
Sure. So as far as the parking goes for the 50 units, the stacked flat building, so that'd be 5 10-unit buildings. Each one of those units would have one covered garage stall and then one driveway spot. And then there are, I believe, 3 stalls for guests to park as well. And then the multifamily building, it's the 3-story garden style apartment that would have 1 to, and then each unit would also have 1 underground. So that's how the parking works, which is consistent with the GDP.
So each unit has 1 underground and then 1.5 outside.
0.5.
Point. Susan. Oh,
Yeah, so it'd be 1 underground, and then I believe it's 0.5 outside of the building, so around 35 stalls outside the building as well, in the surface parking lot for those units. And then for visitors or, well, the village ordinance takes that into account in that required amount of parking. So both of those are meeting the stacked flats being exceeding the village expectation, and then the 75 unit multi-family building meeting that 1.5 stall requirement.
We think that's adequate.
Yep, so it's 120 total. We had Tim Semin look over it and he was comfortable with the amount of parking that they've proposed.
I've just noticed that apartment buildings aren't building enough parking and people are parking on the street. That creates problems for snow plowing and things like that. So I just want to make sure the projects have adequate.
Right. Anything else, Sue? No. All right, Joe.
I'm gonna stick with parking. What I'm seeing when I look here, it looks like, you've got the 1 underground. It looks like the second spot for most of those is right in front of that garage.
Mhm.
But I'm not seeing where there's others really.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 other ones. There'd be the far building to the, what is plan, I guess the right side of the diagram, which would be north.
The northmost.
There's a building, that's based on the site plan layout where they fit in best, but kind of near the trash enclosure, there's several additional stalls for guests.
Okay. That's my only question. I'm not sure that I'm thrilled with the parking, but
It's hard to read a site plan.
Yeah.
It's so tiny.
Uh,
We get better site.
Would you mind, Lauren, could you put up the site plan? Oh, thank you. I think it's page 88. Brian, while we're doing that, do you have any questions?
No, I do not, other than what was the total parking space then? You said 135 at the garden style and
I don't know if you have that off the the number at the garden style, but it would be 50 at the stacked flats because there's two per unit. So everyone has the driveway.
Can I hold
And
you
then-
there for just a moment? You said
Yep.
50 at the stacked. But here you have
Oh,
5
excuse me.
stacked buildings with 10 units each. That's
So it'd be 100,
okay.
100
All
there.
right.
Sorry about that.
And then on the garden style, it said 1 underground and 1.5. And those are 75 units. So you got 75, 150, 187.5. So you got 287 parking spots. Plus or minus. I'm doing my
That would
back of the
be-
napkin math quick. Which I would like to take a quick note, you got 125 units basically at 2 people. per
104
unit.
plus 112 says my good
250,
friend Eric.
so then
So
it works.
216 is what it'd be around.
Okay, I'm sorry, could you repeat what you just said?
Well, if I'm doing my math correct, you got 75 and 50, so you got 125, and if you have 2 vehicles per each, that's 250 stalls, and by count, if the count you gave me is accurate, you got 287 available. Right? You said
Yeah,
2
Eric, you got
at
the
the
parking too? Do you wanna jump in?
at the flats, which is 100, and you had
There's
1.5 plus 1 at the garden style, so 2.5.
There's 104 total stalls on the flat site. And then there would be 75 underground stalls at the multifamily site. And then 0.5 times 75, which is 37.
Only 0.5, not
0.5. There's
1.5.
1.5 parking stalls per unit
Okay,
in the multifamily site.
then it's short of that.
Okay, and it's 0.5 times 75.
And the extra parking is right here. It's that line.
On each side of the building.
Right here.
And what is Simon Crestway? Is there parking on Simon Crestway? Must be because there is across the road.
I believe so, but I don't want to say for sure.
Just going off of being at the apartment building across the street, there's parking on both sides. And just recalling construction that's when we saw the most activity out there. People were able to park on both sides of the road with no impeding the traffic. It worked pretty well.
All right, so we have 100 stacked flats, 50 stacked flats, 100 parking units, and then 112 for the 75 apartment buildings if we're 112,
Right,
130.
which meets the ordinance there. So we weren't this kind of goes back to the general development plan when parking those numbers were in the same plan there. So we're meeting the ordinance as it relates to the multifamily, and we're slightly exceeding it on the stacked flat site. I think in addition to that, street parking along Simon Crestway, that is a large street. So there is ample street parking as well. We're meeting the village ordinance as it relates to parking, but there's a lot of street parking available on Simon Crestway.
All right. Chris, did you have any questions?
I think they're meeting their parking requirements that we've set for them.
Yeah.
So, and I think we've been working on this for the last 7 years. So I'm kidding. I don't know if it's been that long, but it's been quite a while for this one. So I have no other questions.
All right, thank you, Chris. Mike?
I'm satisfied with the parking. I have no questions.
Okay, all right. All right, do we have any other questions in addition to parking?
I didn't get a chance to call you on this. There's too much paper. Did you change anything on the Dolan side of the property as far as either the grading or the fencing or whatever landscaping that we have worked out with your other Connor?
No, we're still good there.
Everything's identical to what we worked out before.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, you stole my question. So, that's all right. That's all right. Pardon?
Oh,
Can you repeat the question for that?
The question was, has anything changed with regards to landscaping and grading on the Dolan site the back end of the property, what I think of as the back end of the property? And just reminding audience members, that is one of the things that we talked about quite extensively when this
Yeah.
came to us in February, March, and April. So we're still, I'm looking at that
Yep.
volume of landscaping and the grading and the building mass the way it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we moved the fence to his side of the property line. No, I'm
Ah.
just kidding. No, it all
Okay.
matches. That's all the same. So
Okay.
yeah, we went through a lot that in the spring, but it helped set things up well so that when we closed on the land, everything was kind of set forth. So when we did the site plan, it was just kind of repeating what was already laid out.
You have a projected date when you're starting?
Our goal would be to start next March on these projects.
And
Coordinate.
Mike, can you have that conversation afterwards? You're stealing our thunder. I'm gonna have to have you sit up here and become a plan commission member pretty soon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll ask, when is your start date? And is there
Sure.
anything else in this plan that is significantly different or different than what you presented in April that we should pay attention to?
No, I don't think there's anything that's different in the plans. Everything looks quite similar to what was presented. I guess the architectural renderings for the stacked flats were blue and now they're more of a red tone. That's to match the look of some of the other buildings on site. But that's something that was reviewed by staff and the consultant team. And we're able to come to architectural renderings that everybody was happy with. And then as far as a start date, in the packet, we had mentioned a fall start. That's likely to be a spring start now, just based on where we are in the construction season, and to avoid winter conditions would be breaking ground in spring, which still allows us to be ground break and opening in spring of 26. And the best time to open any sort of building like that would be in spring into summer, so you can get all new people coming to the community.
All right. All right. Any other questions, plan commissioners? No. Seeing none, do we have a motion? I'll make the motion. Motion to approve the specific improvement plan or implementation plan for Woodland Crest Outlot 2 as presented.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda. Discuss and take, and thank you guys for coming. And thank you, Mike, for the questions. The applicant, or excuse me, discuss and take action on a request to rezone 5939 State Highway 113, formerly known as Mefford's Dental Offices, from legacy non-conforming A1 agricultural to C1 commercial use. And that's an item for recommendation to the Joint Plan Commission and the Village Board.
Yep, so they're requesting the rezone of the property. It had previously been used as a commercial use, but that has it's fallen off for long enough that it's no longer a non-conforming use. It needs to be rezoned to the use that they're looking to do, which is another commercial use. The neighboring zoning is kind of a hodgepodge of R4 residents to the north, legacy non-conforming agricultural, and legacy non-conforming A1 agricultural exclusive. But in the comprehensive plan, this is identified as future mixed use. So between the comprehensive plan, what some of the existing uses are in the area, and the former use of the site, they're just going to be reusing the building, not creating a new building or anything like that, according to the current plans, which are currently not part of the conversation. Staff is comfortable with rezoning this to C1.
All right. Questions? Chris, let's start with you.
Who's requesting this?
The landowner.
Who's the landlord?
Is it?
The Tierney's on this one. Okay. Okay, I don't have any questions. I know
Brian?
where it's at now.
All right,
I
thanks.
have no questions.
Joe?
Nothing.
Sue?
Is this in the village or in Westport? I'm
It's in
confused of
the
what's happening
the
over
joint
here.
plan area and extraterritorial zoning area. So it's not in the village borders, but it's within our zoning jurisdiction.
Mike?
No questions.
All right, I don't have any questions either. And I will make, it's just, well, would anyone else like to make the motion? Okay, thank you.
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of the rezoning of the property at 5939 State Highway 113 from legacy non-conforming A1 agricultural to C1 general commercial district.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, discuss and take action on repealing and replacing section 1412 and the creation of section 133-1140 related to beekeeping ordinances. And this is an item for recommendation to the village board.
So based on the discussion from the previous meeting, the draft has been updated. The two biggest changes being requiring a conditional use permit and changing the flyway barrier distance from 25 feet to the property line to 50 feet from the property line. So anything within that distance would require that flyway barrier. I did also contact local agricultural teachers and FFA advisors, but didn't hear anything back specifically from them, requiring what they would consider appropriate for school use. But looking at other municipalities, Madison allows up to 6 hives per zoned parcel. So it doesn't matter the parcel size, as long as it's zoned, you can have up to 6. If you go all the way over to La Crosse, they allow for 2 hives on any lot. And if the lot is larger than 5 acres, they allow up to 4. So across the state, it kind of runs the gamut of how many they would allow. One thing that I did want to touch on when it comes to the conditional use permit is state law requires any conditional use permit to be based on substantial evidence, which is defined specifically as facts and information other than merely personal preferences or speculation directly pertaining to the requirements and conditions an applicant must meet to obtain a conditional use permit. So in speaking with the village attorney, if a neighbor came and said that they don't want their neighbor to have beehives because someone in the house has a bee sting allergy, that would not be sufficient evidence, would likely not be sufficient evidence to put conditions on the conditional use permit. So in doing research, I looked at least 20 different codes from across the state for beekeeping, and none of them required a conditional use permit. So I did just want to point that out as part of this. So staff recommends approval of the ordinance, but with beekeeping by right instead of conditional use permit.
All right. Comments? Sue?
If we can't have some control over it, I oppose it. I mean, I'm sorry, little kids and their safety is more important to me than letting my neighbor have a beehive. Sorry, no, that's just how I feel.
Mike? Yeah.
I'm feeling better about it with moving it back off the lot lines and stuff like that. I'm not sure how far bees travel and some of that, but I don't know. It seems like there are reasonable accommodations being made. So while I'm not wild about it, I get it.
Chris? Okay. All right, Brian.
How many people do we, because right now it's currently under conditional use to have bees. Did we look and see how many people in the residence in village limits have bees?
None that I'm aware of.
None. Okay. And has there been a lot of people at the door pounding on the window wanting to get bees? Okay, so why are we even talking about this?
It was specifically requested by a trustee.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, it was specifically requested by a trustee.
Yep, no, I get that. That's what I figured. I don't even know why this is in front of us, so I'm a no, hard no on this.
Joe?
Given the size of most of the lots within the village, I don't think this is really an appropriate use for them. I could probably entertain something if we said, a lot of at least a half acre, but I look at a lot of the lots that are there and there is no possible way that they could put something on without putting up the flyaway and it just doesn't seem to really work in our environment.
So I guess so nobody's asked about this?
No.
Other than a trustee?
Correct. It has been brought up at sustainability committee, but hasn't been discussed at length. From a staff perspective, the benefit to, is anyone else here beeping?
That is mine.
Okay. It's like, it sounds like Morse code.
It is beeping.
Sorry, okay. Um, the benefit to doing the beekeeping ordinance as it's been presented is it does take the zoning out of a non-zoning chapter of the code. So right now, this is all under animal licenses, and there's no way to do a zoning check if they get an application at the clerk's office. They have very few rules to go off of. So this creates rules for if someone wanted to do beekeeping, and it has some pretty strict zoning applications. But from the staff perspective, that would be the reason to continue with this as it's been presented.
So, but at the end of the day, we're still solving a problem we don't even have.
At this moment, you could say that.
Chris?
I said no to this a while back already. I mean, if I could change it to repeal it and say we can't have bees in the community, I would do that, at this point. It's just where I'm at with it.
Mhm.
Bees out in nature, fine. People bringing them into the village to keep them here, I just don't believe that it's necessary. Especially with what I'm hearing, that we have 0 requests other than a board member who's apparently they want it. I don't know that, but I have not had a lot of people coming and saying, we need to have bees in Waunakee, beehives in Waunakee for all the residents. That's just not. So I'm a no.
I agree. It's a safety issue for me.
Yeah, and I'm
yeah.
more concerned about the fact that we don't have any demand, but if somebody does it and there's a problem, we have this on the books. I have plenty of bees in my yards. There's no shortage of them, but I just don't think it's needed.
Yeah.
So what happens? I'm just curious. Is this going to the board anyways?
Yeah. Mhm.
I got a lot more to say on it, but I'm just gonna bite my tongue.
So we can vote yes, we can vote no. It will come before the board regardless. So do we want to?
You can also disagree with staff and keep it as a conditional use permit. I just don't know of any conditions that you would be able to enforce on this.
When our attorney says that, we can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing about keeping it as a conditional use permit from my perspective is they have to come here.
Yeah. It
right?
forces a
They have to post
conversation.
it. They have to be here. And we've got a $15 fee in here for license, non-refundable, and a $5 per month late charge for somebody that wants to keep bees. They'll spend more money coming here to visit us and tell us whether they should or should not have a beehive, and that in itself might be this deterrent.
Yeah.
So
I think the perception was that we don't allow bees. We do with the conditional use permit. Nobody has come before us to get one. I agree with you completely. If this is going to be on the books, I would like to force a conversation where they have to at least come before us. And even if we can't say, no, you cannot have bees, or we don't allow it, presumably the neighbor who does have a bee allergy or has a child who could be in danger, or they themselves are endangered by bees, would be here to speak to it, and that conversation might change the outcome. So, short of repealing it.
How do we notify neighbors? I recall in the past that we don't notify people very far and wide.
It's within, I believe, 200 feet of the property. Anyone who has property within 200 feet of that property gets notified.
So you may miss the neighbor.
Yeah.
And what's our liability? I mean, when we talk about allergy, it's not just an allergy. Kids can die.
Yeah,
Adults can die.
it would be difficult to prove liability as I understand it on the village's side. It'd also be difficult to prove liability on the beehive owner's side, because you would have to go through some pretty lengthy dealings to try to prove that the bee came off of that specific property. Because these are also bees that exist out in nature.
So I might be going extreme here, but as I'm reading things, this says discuss and take action on repealing and replacing. Do we have to replace? Can we just repeal?
That it's not how it's being presented, but that would be up to the plan commission if you wanted to go that way. The only reason it would take effect is if village board also voted the same way. Although,
Because of
Actually,
notifications and noticing, does that cause it
No,
that we couldn't just
the-
repeal it? Or
as
could
I
we
think
repeal
of
and
it,
replace
you would
with
not
nothing?
be, I don't believe you would have the authority to repeal because it's not within the zoning code. Zoning code is chapter 113. This is the repeal replace part is in chapter 14.
And the other thing that's just a little annoying to me is we have Madison and La Crosse, which are much bigger places than us that we're using for what they're doing. I'm just that annoys to a certain level for me. So, I don't know what we can do then.
I don't know what we can do then either. Yeah, I mean, we can vote no against it, vote to not repeal and replace.
And the village board can do whatever they want
Yeah.
to do after this anyways, so. I'll make the motion to say, what do I say, no to this?
Yeah, so you would make a motion to not recommend approval of the ordinance.
So I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing
I
none.
I guess I'd like to make a comment. You obviously have spent a lot of time on this. We've had this at 2 meetings. It seems like we're spending a lot of time on something that's not even a lot of people are spending a lot of time on something that's not even a problem. So I don't know how we can emphasize that shouldn't happen.
The way this was brought forward was a provision in state law that allows a trustee to request at village board that plan commission take up a certain topic, and they have 60 days to take up that topic. So because it's a provision within state law, there's, staff are pretty tied that this was brought up at village board. And so by law, we take this to plan commission. What plan commission decides to do with it, that's up to plan commission, but staff is currently following state law.
So I get it. You're stuck.
Yep.
But is there any way at village board that this can be like shut down?
Yes and no. The role of trustees is to bring up, among other things, to bring up, new ordinances and legislative or policy, not legislative, but policy changes that they feel are in the best interest of the village. So that's part of the conversation between the village board and the various committees. We tend to be out of step with them some of the time. And I vote the way the plan commission votes when, and the decisions we've made, I've agreed with for the most part. But that's just kind of part of that back and forth. So, yeah, we can, when these have come up, I this one in particular, I have voiced my opinion on it at village board, but it still does come to plan commission. Whether
You're still stuck
Yeah.
if somebody wants to make a deal of it.
So
Okay,
do you
thank you.
tell them why we voted no?
Yes,
Their
yeah,
concern about,
yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, there's no press here tonight, so this won't be in the newspaper. And so people, not that they read, I don't know who reads the news. I do, but I mean, making people aware and voicing their concern. Nobody knows about it.
Yeah, they do have the ability to watch the video from tonight, and I believe that Roberta does, or whoever's we have a new reporter for the Civic Beat. I do believe they watch the video and report on what they see. Yeah, based on some of the recent articles. All right, so we have a motion. Did we have a second? All right,
Can we clarify what that motion is? So we
Yes.
make sure we vote appropriately.
We are motioning not to take these steps, basically.
Okay.
we are recommending disapproval. Motion to not approve. Motion to recommend not approving the ordinance
Is that,
As presented.
is that clear?
presented.
That makes, okay.
Okay, all right. All in favor of
Aye.
recommending to not approve? Okay, all in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, thank you guys for the
And we do
discussion.
appreciate your efforts. It's
Yes,
just-
I understand.
And thank you very much for your effort,
Passionate.
Lauren.
And,
Yeah.
and I would just request that it be very clear at the board
Mhm.
that this was a unanimous vote at the planning
Mhm.
commission.
I will. I will. All right, item number 7, discuss and take action recommending the issuance of comprehensive planning services RFP. And this is an item for recommendation to the village board.
Yep, so this one is, it's kind of coming back a little sooner. At the September 9th meeting, we brought forward for discussion an item regarding contracting with Dane County to just do an update to the housing chapter of the comprehensive plan. Plan Commission voted against that in favor of a more comprehensive plan update in its entirety that we were going to hopefully start at the beginning of next year. We are currently putting it in the budget proposal, which will go to village board on Monday night. After the discussion, we also brought it to Community Development Authority and Village Board, and they both voted that they wanted to do the housing chapter update without the public involvement part of it and do it as kind of a parallel process to the comprehensive plan. But after speaking with Dane County Planning and meeting internally with staff, we ultimately decided that it would be more effective and efficient to just do the comprehensive plan all together because the different elements are so interconnected. It's really hard to just pull out one chapter and update it and not do anything to the rest of the document, especially because we currently have a joint document with Westport, and we would be looking at doing a village specific document with this new comprehensive plan. So the way we're kind of hoping to move forward with this now is to discuss the draft that's before you tonight, make any edits that you would like to make, take the RFP to village board next Monday, and then issue it the next day if it gets approved. So that way we have time to do the RFP and proposal process this fall and winter and get started right away in January with a new planning process.
And that started in January 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. All right, what questions do we have? Joe?
So-
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
So just to be clear, we would run the comp plan process without the assistance of Dane County Planning Division on the housing chapter.
Correct.
Okay, who do we usually solicit proposals from for this? I'm assuming there's specific.
So when we did the sustainability plan, we sent it to consultants that we normally work with. We sent it to MSA, Strand, Ayers. I don't remember off the top of my head. I sent it to like 6 different people. And then we also posted on the Wisconsin APA, which is the Planning Association website and the League of Municipalities website, so that it's publicly available. We also put it on our own website on the bids and postings pages.
Who did our last one?
MSA did the joint plan in 2017.
Okay, and that segues, thank you, into my next question, with some of the news from the south.
Mhm.
How does that potentially impact this process?
It shouldn't. The only way it would really affect the plan is in future land use planning. If they're eventually incorporated, we would have to take out that section of the future land use plan.
Because that
for
would go
the-
back to, that would become their jurisdiction then?
Right, yeah. So we have up to 1.5 miles of unincorporated territory that we can future plan for in the comprehensive plan. But if that area becomes incorporated, we no longer have jurisdiction there.
Okay, so you lose all that potential, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Sue? Yeah. All right, Mike?
I actually think this, when we talked about this last month, and it was gonna be just one chunk. Was just gonna be just one chunk. It didn't seem to make a lot of sense then. I think at least doing it all and moving up the time frame is better. I think there are gonna be a lot of questions on this with the whole Westport thing.
Mhm.
Is there the ability with the timing of this? How fast is this Westport thing gonna happen? Is there something to modify this on the fly?
They're estimating at least 18 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I gotta go from DOA.
Yeah, so there's a whole process that they have to go through. And that there's potential that they have to go through the process a couple of times. So at a minimum, they're looking at about the same time it would take us to write a comprehensive plan.
Okay. Okay,
With-
thank you.
With that said, can I request that Brian talk to us as the plan commission at our next meeting about their process of what they're gonna go through, so we have a good understanding?
Yep, I can talk to him about that.
And we see the RFP.
Yes, it's in the packet. So page, right about 170.
Yeah, and I looked,
78.
I went through this. It's very similar to when we did our last plan commission. The information that's being requested all consistent, so I don't see any problems with it.
Joe.
I don't have any concerns here. There are certain things that I think we probably should have in the plan itself. But we'll deal with that when the time comes. It's not part of this, so.
Okay, is it something that you would specifically like to see in the scope?
No,
Or is it?
No,
or
it's-
is it
it's
just
within
specific items
discussions.
within what's already in the scope?
yeah,
Okay.
it's within that.
Is it coming up soon?
Yeah, no. Can I ask if they would, are they able to, I mean, there could be changes to what we want to do should Westport become its own entity. So are they able to identify what those changes might be so we can consider all those?
Yes.
All right. I don't have any questions myself. Any other questions?
I'll just throw out there. We could theoretically sit on this until
Mhm.
we know what's going on with Westport. That could cause us to be sitting on this for 5 years, maybe more, and we don't know. So, yeah, I think it's,
Housing.
Yep.
I think it makes sense to
It
move
may
forward,
be, it may be in our benefit to have more clarity early.
Yeah.
probably.
I don't think we can actually sit on it either, because we have to have it done within a certain amount of time from the last one,
Yeah,
correct?
10 years.
Yep.
Where are we
true.
at now?
We are starting in January. It will be 8 years.
Yeah, so we
So
can't
either
really.
way, we're gonna be.
And
right
it
at
is
that.
considered a living document. So it's, if the Westport Incorporation does go through to whatever extent that it would, we would be able to go back and amend the document with any information that we know in the future.
And wasn't the urgency doing the housing in order to allow people to get tax credits? So if we wait.
Yeah.
That.
You had to take advantage of any tax credit programs that come
Right.
down. Yeah. Or grants that come down the road.
Yep.
All right. And from our last meeting, if I recall correctly, we have grown sufficiently large
Yep.
since our last one.
23% since the last comprehensive
Yeah.
plan.
And so many of the things that we're working with are really in need of
Yep.
update anyway. All right. Do we have a motion?
Sure, I'll move to recommend approval of the draft RFP to Village Board.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next up on the agenda, well, we've run out of business items. Joint Plan Commission agenda is on there for tomorrow, but we have just learned that we do not have quorum for tomorrow.
We do
Teresa?
not have quorum, so we will contact Westport and see if a special meeting is at all possible. If not, it would be the next regularly scheduled meeting in November.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I can't speak for the others on the joint plan. I apologize. I can't make it tomorrow night, but I'm willing to schedule into whenever we need to, if there's anything that's pressing that. I don't want any projects or anything to be
Okay.
slowed or,
Second that opinion as well.
so.
All right. Great. All right, with that,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Closed. Motion carries.